Yo, yo, it's time to discover the flow. Shout out to the bros. You know, I like to welcome everybody to discover the flow. No matter how you discover the show or discover the bros, now you about to see how far we can go, because it's time for discover the flow. Yeah, cowabunga do. You know live is how we come to you. Turn the levels up when you hear the boys coming through. The Pod Squad giving you just what you need, hitting you with a new special guest every week. Don't you dare hit skip, man, it's Tristan and Kip. DTF Pod about to take you on a trip. Mega Ran bring the heat, yeah. But be clear, I wasn't even supposed to be here. Welcome to Discover the Flow. No matter how you discovered the show or discovered the bros, now you about to see how far we can go, because it's time for Discover the Flow. Let's start the show.
Well, thanks for doing this, by the way. We really appreciate it. I can't exactly speak for Kip, but I grew up on early Comedy Central when it was basically just Who's Line and Absolutely Fabulous.
Oh yeah.
So this is cool for me. This is big. I like.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I didn't really get into Who's Line until the American version of it.
Right.
But it is.
That's all right. You don't have to apologize.
Absolutely fantastic stuff, and Drew Carey show. I saw some of that stuff when you were on there, and some other things. So I've been a fan of yours for a long time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Which I don't know if this is true or not. I read that you guys started the American version like 2 weeks after the British version ended.
Yeah.
God, there was no in between time in there, was there?
Yeah. No. But it was the easiest. The gig could not be any easier. It was like 2 weekends, and of course we were exhausted after 4 hours of making people laugh, but we got through it.
It's a tough job.
It really is.
What does prep for an episode of that show even look like?
We would get in maybe a couple of hours before, then we go sit in our seats, and they had a list of the games we would probably play, and then we would play fake games using suggestions from previous shows, just like 30 seconds so the camera people could see where we're going, and then we'd go have dinner. That was it.
I got to imagine that was it was probably always fun for the live audience to kind of see the behind the scenes of something like that.
It was, yeah. I mean, we would shoot like 22 games straight through, and then the last hour was the tough hour because it was all pickups. So while they were watching the show, the producer was cutting it into 4 different episodes. So he would go, okay, Drew, you run down the stairs and then introduce questions, or run down the stairs and introduce greatest hits. And so during that time was when we really had to sort of keep our energy up for the audience.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have to deal with like any weird hecklers or anything doing that in front of a live audience?
Weirdly, no. I mean,
No?
considering our show is basically yell things at us.
Yeah.
It's pretty fortunate.
Any
One of you has a pet?
Can you take the squeaky toy away from him, please?
I just realized he did that. I'm sorry.
He's been doing that for the last 30 seconds.
It's all right.
That's our third host. That's Charlie. He's
You have to relieve your tension some way.
he is a wonderful dog, but he is dumber than a box of rocks. But so yeah, we'll cut some of this out when in the editing process, of course. But so I've been involved in.
Sorry about that. I just bought my girlfriend new boobs, and there was the squeaky toy option, so I had them put in.
Well done. That way you can always tell where she is in the house.
A little bit of something for her, a little something for me,
Hey, this is a professional we're talking to here. Be a little more respectful. You bought her fake tits.
Career.
Oh, but no. Back to where I was going with that. But I was like, was there anything where you guys ever had to be like, no, we really can't take that suggestion?
No, because it's been ingrained to us that as improvisers we have to say yes to everything.
Yes,
So
sir.
there are times, we would say yes to everything, and then the censors would get in the way and say, "No, you can't do Bill Cosby and Hitler." It's like, okay,
Boo.
Maybe back
That's
then they
comedy
didn't
gold
go-
right there.
Yeah, maybe
It
back then they
does.
didn't go together so well, but nowadays, oddly.
Yeah,
Strangely
it's
enough.
weird time.
So you were actually born in Scotland.
I was, yep,
How do you pronounce that? Kilmarnock?
Kilmarnock. Yep, Kilmarnock. Yep, and
Kilmarnock,
then when I
okay.
was 6, my parents emigrated to Montreal. Um, Lived there for a couple of years, then moved to Edmonton. My mother despised it, so we kept until there was no farther west we could go. We ended up in Vancouver,
Oh, wow.
and that's where I went to theater school, and that's where I was first sort of introduced to improv.
Were you even old enough to have any actual memories from your childhood in Scotland, or?
Well, vague memories. Actually, weirdly, some smells and smells that I've never found anywhere else. And every time I go back to Scotland, I try to say, what was it? Am I remembering wrong? It was a smell I can't even describe. It was an industrial kind of smell, but yeah, I haven't found it yet. Not that I'm actively searching for the smell of my youth.
No, but that smells are very powerful. They're incredibly strong memory triggers.
Yeah. There are
So
certain, yeah, absolutely, some smells that will take you back. And
diesel fuel is one of my big ones. That's the one that reminds me of my childhood.
my
Waiting for the
wife
school
just
bus.
loves the smell of gasoline. Doesn't bring back memories. I think she has a problem.
A lot
I
of
can understand that.
a lot of the smell of weed in my house growing up. That's what I remember.
Oh,
Yeah, well, that's never mind. We won't talk about your mom today.
No, I've have you made it back to Scotland to perform ever, or is
yeah,
that
I've done
something
the Edinburgh Festival a couple
you're
of
still
times.
waiting on?
Yeah, and for my wife's 60th birthday, we went to we booked a trip on the it's sort of the Orient Express, the Scottish version. So it was like a 3-day trip going from Edinburgh up north, which was great. Yeah, but the Edinburgh Festival, I've done, I guess, 5 or 6 times, and just a wild experience. If you haven't done it, I mean, I think there's, at this point, there's maybe 2,000 shows you can catch. And the weekends are just, I don't know if you've seen Gone with the Wind, but there's that scene where there's all the soldiers lying in a field and they pull back, and it's like that, except it's people sitting in their own vomit.
Okay. That's fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
That kind of leads the possibility of my next question being real. Have you ever gotten what I've been told is called the Scottish encore, where they're like, here we fucking go.
Your Scottish
That's what I've
accent is
always been
horrible.
told is the
No, I've
Scottish
never
request
had
for
that.
an
I've
encore.
never heard of it. I feel almost
Yes.
embarrassed that I'm Scottish and have not heard that.
Your brogue is horrible, by the way.
I've seen. Thank you. We've seen several performers from Scotland talk about how at concerts and festivals and stuff like that, that's instead of them chanting encore, that's how they actually chant for it.
You gotta love the Scots. I mean, I always love going there. The people are great. They all tell these incredible stories, and they're pretty morbid in a way. A lot of stories end up with someone dying or something, but just love it. Just always love it. When I go there, I feel,
Jeez.
oh yeah, this is where I came from.
My grandmother is first generation American from Scotland. So my great grandparents were born in Scotland, and some of the stories that I've heard are just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no, they're amazing people.
So you said that you went to college and
So
kind of honed your craft in Vancouver a little bit, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So
honed to my craft. That seems kind of generous, but sure.
So tell me about the Theater Sports League.
So I was in theater school, and a friend of mine was doing part of an evening. It was a play reading, and then there was this thing called theater sports, which had been started by this Englishman in Calgary, and it was theater sports in it was improv in a sports setting. So there were three judges, there was a referee, two teams. He would issue a challenge to each team, best scene using an audience member or whatever. Then they would do the scenes. Then the judges would judge them. And I saw this and I thought, oh, this looks like a lot of fun. You don't really have to prepare anything. The audience shouts at you. You do stuff. So I got involved with that. I was kind of there right at the beginning where we were lucky enough in that one of the theater owners in town said, you know what, you can have the theater after the main show. So Friday and Saturday nights at 11 o'clock, we would have 11 o'clock to 1 in the morning. And the first, I would say first couple of months, there was a McDonald's next door. We would run into the McDonald's and say, hey, come see our show. And they'd say, what is it? We go, oh, we don't know. You have to yell things at us, and then we'll make it up for you. So from that, within the year, we were the big cult event. And lineups around the block. And then we started doing, we did an improvised Hamlet. We started doing different plays. And it's still going on strong in its 40th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it just theater sports just spread all around the world, and then when Whose Line came along, it just really put improv into the mainstream. People really understood what improv was. So I've been very fortunate that these things came around that took advantage of the only thing I can do. And I'm not being humble. I have no other skills. I would be homeless. I would be. I have nothing I can fall back on. Hooker, I guess, but even then, I don't know.
That's a hard one to sell.
Yeah.
Part-time stripper and hairstylist.
Well, if I had a suit, I could be a gigolo. That's a little more up class.
So originally, there you go. I can see you with the little pompadour. That'd be good.
Oh yeah.
Originally, from what we understand, you wanted to be a marine biologist.
Yeah.
What made you abandon that? Like, obviously comedy somewhere, but like what was that moment when you were all like, no, this is the switch that I'm gonna do?
I was incredibly shy as a kid. I was very much a bookworm. I would go to the library every week. I was also a speed reader. So I would take like 7 or 8 books out, read them, and then go back next week. Obviously, I was very alone. But a friend of mine dared me to try out for the school play, which was called The Death and Life of Sneaky Fitch, a musical Western. So I did, and I got the part. And then I got my first laugh, and that was pretty much bye-bye science. Hello, whatever this is.
Yeah, they don't really laugh at you when you're doing science as much.
Not as well. You hope not, because if they are, things are not good.
No, they frown upon laughter in science.
Yeah. So that was it. So I changed my direction, went to theater school, and then did the slow, hard climb to middle stardom.
Now you've done film work as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What was your talk about your first film that you did?
My first film is a science fiction classic, Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. They were hoping that this would be the next Star Wars. I think they actually had a trilogy planned. But I can tell by your faces, you have not even heard of the first one. So that is the reason there was not 2 and 3.
Now, this was a 3D movie?
It was a 3D movie directed by a man who had one eye. And that was kind of just the beginning of...
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of 3D?
It really does.
See, I was going to ask about that because I wasn't sure if that was real or not.
Yep, Lamont Johnson, who was actually quite a respected director. He did a couple of Twilight Zones. It was. I mean, it was low budget, and I started off as an extra, managed to work my way up to where I got a line. Um, as I was one of the villain's guards. The villain, of course, Overdog. You see what they did there. It was just. It was a film that. I mean, it was 2 months. I think I worked on it, and every day, and at Vancouver at that point, they weren't really ready to do a major film. I just remember being wet all the time because um, the place where they kept us always had like a couple of inches of water. But the extras, we would all get together. We'd be playing cards, and then we'd have bets on which stunt man would get hurt that day because there was always someone bursting into flames and being hurt. There was one scene, if you watch, there's one scene where they were supposed to go into a cave and there were bat people. And all the bat people are hanging upside down, and then that's where all the hands come out in 3D. So, because the film industry was pretty new in Vancouver, they had to send down to LA for all the bat costumes. So, and I was incredibly fortunate that I was there the day the crates arrived with the costumes. They opened the crates and they had not 50 bat suits, but 50 fat suits. So if you watch the movie, they go into a cave and there's upside down fat people. They melted it down a bit to make them look mutanty. But I thought, oh, okay, well, that's pretty creative. It makes no sense, but it kind of fit with the movie.
I gotta imagine the look on somebody's face when they opened up that crate and there was all the fat suits. They're like, no, we said fat man. We didn't say fat man. We said Batman. Batman.
Yeah. It's a classic. I mean, it is a classic mistake.
But it made for great film. Sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Please catch it if you can.
So I also saw that you have done a couple other movies. One of them that Tristan wanted to ask you about, and he's getting a little bit of lag downstairs, so I'm just going to kind of take over a little bit.
Okay.
Turnbuckle.
Turnbuckle. There are so many movies I've done where it involves me in an afternoon, and that was Turnbuckle. I knew a couple of people involved from Edmonton, and they got in touch and said, "Can you do this?" I had not seen the movie. I barely remember what I remember. I was in an office at Second City. I was there maybe 2 hours at most.
Yeah, the only note that I have on it is Commissioner Connor O'Connor.
Makes sense. I've been in so many. There was a movie called Puck Hogs, but again, I was there for maybe 3 hours. I ended up being on the cover of the DVD. I mean, I thought, well, this is misleading, and again, not my best work.
Yeah, but if that was their selling point, if you know, if you're the biggest name in their movie, I guess they
Turnbuckle stuck out. Yeah.
I haven't seen Turnbuckle.
Turnbuckle.
I would say a lot of my movies are not going to be. A lot of my movies are not going to be in the upper echelon of Rotten Tomatoes.
Interesting. What were you saying, Tristan? you start talking and then you stop, and then you stop and keep talking.
No, I was saying Turnbuckle stuck out to us because we've spent 25 years in the independent wrestling business. So anytime somebody does anything in that genre, it always catches our eye. And you know, we never know if somebody's a fan or if they're just doing it for a paycheck or what. But when I saw Commissioner Connor O'Connor, that kind of cracked me up. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to put that on the list.
So you haven't seen it?
No.
It might be best just to have it in your mind.
I can imagine it, I think.
No, I just discovered it today.
Oh, okay. I don't even know where you could find it.
So you've also you've done comedy, obviously. Have you ever, and Okay, so the way this was written, not every serious actor can do comedy, but it seems like some of the best dramatic actors are comedians. Have you ever been offered dramatic roles?
I have. Um,
And do you prefer dramatic over comedic or comedic over dramatic?
I mean, okay. Okay, this is so pretentious. Drama's pretty easy. In a way, I mean,
I've heard that a lot,
everybody,
actually.
you know, everybody cries at the same stuff. Everybody, is sad when they've lost a love or someone in their family dies. Getting a bunch of people to laugh at the same thing, that's hard. I do enjoy doing drama because it's a little, it's different. And there is a couple in North Ontario who always hire me to play the worst character in their script. Bridget, isn't it horrible? I forgot her name. Bridget and Andrew. We were shooting. They called me and said we're shooting up in North Bay. It's pretty cold, so bring your long johns. And I said, aren't all my scenes on in the interior? And they went, yeah. We have no heating in the place we're shooting. My first scene was Andrew was directing. Bridget, his wife, is the female star. My first scene was I had to anally rape her. Luckily, we know each other quite well. So, but it's still odd, let's say.
Yeah. What's
And
a
it's
little
not,
anal between you and a friend, you know?
it's not something I do all the time. But so I love that they, the first thing they got me on, I played like a 500-year-old demon. And my first scene was I killed someone with a shovel. So those things I don't get from mainstream Hollywood. And that's what I always enjoy doing things that, oh, this is so unlike anything people would assume I would do. And it gives you kind of a freedom in a way. It's just like, I can, yeah, like I really killed that guy with a shovel. Like I did, yeah, really killed him. He was a day player.
Killed him real good.
Money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
killed him real good. What are you doing?
Magic.
Would you just go and get back on the? Can't take him anyway. You know?
Well,
So you did a series or a short series a couple years ago. LOL.
yeah,
We had K. Trevor Wilson on last week or the week before.
lovely.
Unfortunately, didn't get to ask him about that experience, but I would like to ask you, how was that experience for you?
It was like a CIA experiment. You have how many were there? Like,
7 or 8 people.
yeah, comedians.
I can rattle off a handful of who was there that I can remember, but I
Yeah.
watched it. I thought it was really interesting.
It's really it started off in Japan, of course. In the Japanese, if you watch the Japanese version, it goes from kind of normal trying to make someone laugh to people hanging things off their genitals. We didn't get that far.
I mean, you had Tom Green in there. You could have gotten
That's
that.
not everyday
We
life.
could have so easily. And before I did this version, I watched all the versions that were available at that point. And it was Germany, Spain, and Italy, I think. And it was interesting watching. Basically, you have these comedians in a room for 6 hours, trying not to laugh. The last one not to laugh wins. And watching all the different countries with their different senses of humor was quite interesting. The one thing they all had in common, there was always one person who had a fart machine, because that's universal.
Oh, yeah, farts are universally funny.
So this was, and it's hard because when you get together with a bunch of comedians, I mean, that's what you do. Everyone is telling stories about how they bombed on the road or whatever. And so it's really relaxed. And so it was hard to remember, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to laugh at this. And there were a couple of people on there who I thought, you're not going to make it through the introduction. Like Carolyn Ray and Deb Giovanni, they're lovely. They just laugh at everything. And I thought, well, why did you say you would do this? There's no way you're going to get through this. But it was fun. I mean, we were all assigned a person who we would say, okay, I have this bit that maybe I want to use, and these are the props I need. And then towards the end, I had used all my stuff. I thought, okay, well, and there was liquor on the stage. So by the end, I was actually quite drunk.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So how far did you go?
Sounds like doing the Graham Norton show.
Was it elimination style, or was it?
It was elimination. You would get you got 2 chances to laugh.
Okay.
So it got down to Tom Green and I, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. We had it was really nice to spend that time with Tom. We kind of, I mean, obviously I knew who he was, and we kind of sort of crossed paths throughout the years, but this was quite intense for the last hour.
I've always thought he was more misunderstood as a comedian. People don't quite get his style.
No,
because he's very much a prop comic, but ridiculously off the wall.
So committed. Everything he did was amazing and so committed. And I think he got rid of like 3 people at least 3 people by himself. So it was really it wasn't fun, but it was a good experience.
Good.
Joe Rogan always credits Tom Green for him having the podcast and the success that he does today, because he said he went to his house to do his podcast back in the early 2000s, and he had like an entire room dedicated to like just the servers and the laptops and everything, all the setup that you needed for it. And then you would walk into his living room and it became like a studio.
Yeah.
He said it was crazy. He's like, if Tom Green can do this, I can definitely do this. And clearly he was right.
He's a fascinating guy. He's just lovely. You know, it's that Canadian thing where he's lovely, but he's so warped. It's great.
He was the one that was he was with Drew Barrymore for a while, right?
Yeah, they were married. Yeah,
they were married for a while.
Yeah,
so
I believe I remember watching a thing where like their house was burning down and they were on the news like, oh no, our possessions, they're all gone. I was like, Jesus, that's one way to approach that.
If I had that kind of money, I'd probably be okay.
Yeah.
So I know how a lot of comedians, stand-up comedians, deal with hecklers.
Yeah.
Is there when you're doing improv and you're up on stage? I know improv is very much yes and.
Mm-hmm.
It's you have to accept what's being said to you and just go with it. How do you deal with a heckler as an improv comic?
It's I mean, it's an odd thing. As I said, it's a weird art form because we're asking people to shout at us anyway. And usually, I'm trying to think of the shows we did. You did get people who are kind of excited to be there and feel that they have to be a part of it. But you can gently sort of dissuade them from that without, destroying them. We had Brad Sherwood and I have been touring for 23 years now. And I think in that time, we had 2 hecklers that were not someone who could be dissuaded by a simple, all right, that's good. One was, for some reason, this woman who was quite drunk, after a scene we did, just started walking down the center of the aisle going, do a song about menopause.
Okay.
Exactly. So Brad, God bless him, said, okay, and did this amazing rap about this woman going through menopause, which ended up with her and her friends leaving. And I thought, okay, that's the best way to do it. There was no way we could, and the audience loved it. It was nice because in our show, the audience is more behind us than they are behind the heckler, which makes it easier. And I think the hecklers sort of feel that, so they pull back a little because it's not that kind of show. We're just doing goofy fun. We're not doing anything political or anything that you can really get upset about. We're just there to have fun, and I think the audience at this point, especially in history, want that.
Now, do you write things for other people as well, or do you just
God no.
Right.
I'm so lazy. I don't even know what that. When I think of like Stephen King, who writes like thousands of pages it's like, no, make it up, man.
just go
No.
just go with it? Just go.
Yeah, I have nothing but respect for people who do that. I no, no, not at all.
So you, I know you married your wife Deborah in '89, and she's one of your writing partners, correct?
Yeah,
Or is that
no, that's true.
okay? So
We
what's
we
it
wrote a
like
series
being
together.
married to your writing partner? Like,
I
Who
mean,
wins the arguments?
yeah, do you guys argue or
mean-
disagree on what's funny and what isn't? You know?
there are benefits. I think Deb is very good at structure, and she is disciplined, which you need in a writing couple. I'm really good at editing. I can come up with ideas, and then we talk about it. She does most of the writing, and then I will edit it down and maybe throw a couple of more jokes in. But she does the majority of the writing because I'm lazy. We wrote a series together up here in Canada called Getting Along Famously, which we were both starring in and writing and producing. And our marriage survived it because I let her do all the work.
That
That's the secret.
makes sense.
Yeah,
So she's doing the majority of the work, and you're basically punching it up.
that's it. Every once in a while, I'll come up. I'll get inebriated and write a script and give it to her. But mostly, yeah, we work together very well. It's a really good relationship. We also we've done shows together. We do an improv show together. So, and we've been together 35 years now. So we feel very relaxed with each other, and it's all good.
So you mentioned your show briefly with
So-
Brad that you've been doing for 20 years.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and what is the premise of that show? Is there
It came out of, we were doing Whose Line during the Drew years, and every Super Bowl weekend, Drew would take us to Vegas, and we would do shows at Caesars or MGM, and it was it was great, but there was so many of us. It was the entire cast plus some friends, so it was usually like 10, 12 people. So you didn't really get a lot of chance to do things. So Brad came up and said, "Hey, would you be interested in just doing the two of us and touring and see what that happens?" So we did a 2-week sort of dry run to see how that would work out. And then, yeah, it worked out. So we've been doing it now for, I think this is our 23rd year. And it's basically, we like to say it's like a live version of Whose Line without the dead weight.
well, you got to eliminate Drew Carey somewhere. That's
Exactly. Not only Carey, but
So
I don't know if you know this. I write all of Ryan Stiles and Wayne Brady's stuff. I'm not really sure why they're on the show, but whatever.
I knew it.
they,
Yeah.
they always play off you. It's never you
I had a
playing off
feeling.
them.
Yeah.
I've watched Whose Line religiously. It's
There were 3 shows where actually Ryan was replaced by the animatronic Abraham Lincoln from Disneyland, and no one noticed.
so you also work with Greg Proops, right?
Yeah.
He was always very, very funny to me.
I love Greg. He is a, and I don't like to disparage Americans because I have many friends who are Americans, and I love America, and I love many people in America. He like he would come to Canada and do shows here, and he would know everything about our politics, everything about our land. He goes vacation in Turkey. He does things that normal Americans wouldn't do. He loves new experiences, and he. One of my favorite things about him. There was a point where we were touring on buses, and it was like 4 hours to wherever, and I would go, "Hey, Greg, how are you?" And then I'd just sit back and listen to him talk for like 4 hours because he knows something about everything. His knowledge of baseball alone is insane. I think he knows like the batting average of everyone who's ever played the sport.
Interesting.
He's an amazing
Jesus.
man. Yeah.
And I can barely stay awake through a game when it's televised.
I hear you. It's not one of my
So
favorite.
you do a tour with a hypnotist as well.
I do.
How did that come about?
The hypnotist, Assad Meki, was taking classes at Second City, and he realized what the instructors were telling the students to get out of your head, to just go with your first impulse, was kind of what happens when he hypnotizes people. So he contacted my agent. We got together and he proposed this show where he would hypnotize audience members and then I'd improvise with them. And I thought, oh, this sounds insane. So I did it. And I think this is our 10th year touring. Again, it's an odd show. Every night I'm off stage watching him put 20 people in a trance, and every night I go, this can't be working. How is this show going to work? And he starts with 20, gets it down to the best 4 or 5, and then we do an improv show. And it's fascinating. These people become pure improvisers. They just react to everything Assad and I say immediately. And they come up with things that, quote, unquote, real improvisers would not come up with. There was one scene where I'm a superhero. I'm building up a super team. And one of the suggestions we got from the audience was the Gibraltar Kid. So he comes up and I said, so you're the Gibraltar Kid. What's your superpower? Do you turn into a rock curry? He goes, no, I have a residency in Gibraltar. And I went, what? He said, yeah, anything happens in Gibraltar, I can take care of it. So I said, so your superpower is that you can work in the place where you live. He goes, yeah. Huh. And so it became this whole other scene that I was not expecting. And it's and that's the beauty of that show. They come out of left field, and there's things that I go, okay. Because even when you're improvising, you think, oh, I know what he's going to say. There's no chance I ever know what's going to happen.
So I'm a bit of a skeptic when it comes to hypnosis.
Of course you are.
Things like that.
So many people come to our show. They don't believe in hypnotism. They don't believe in hip-prov. But we've combined it in this one place so they can disbelieve together.
But I love improv, and I understand how improv works. Does hypnotism actually work? Does it?
It does. And a part of it is I think people have an idea of what hypnotism is. And I would say probably 90% of the time they're wrong. These people are aware the entire time. It's just the part of the brain that says you can't do this is gone. So they're immediately just reacting to everything I say. They're not trying to think of a funny line. They're just reacting.
So you're basically just making them drunk without alcohol.
Exactly.
Just taking away the inhibition.
That is the perfect way to say it.
Interesting.
Taking away all their inhibitions. Just
taking away their inhibitions and that filter between their brain and their mouth.
Yeah. I've always wanted to get called on stage for one of those just to see if I would remember it or what would happen or what's going on.
Yeah, everyone remembers it. It's I think 20% of the population for stage shows can be hypnotized. The percentage is higher for if you're trying to quit smoking or whatever. But yeah, for stage it's 20%. So that's why we bring up 20, end up with 4 or 5.
Interesting. So what do you do?
So the times we're seeing those shows where people are dropping their heads down and closing their eyes like this, that's what's bullshit, isn't it?
That's what we do in our show. They are, but they're aware of everything. So there'll be someone who will reference a scene 3 scenes ago that they weren't in, but it's just that's their default state where they're totally relaxed.
Interesting. So what do you do? Okay, so we've covered the improv. We've covered quite a bit of information over this time. What do you do when you're not doing any of that? Like what do you do for pastimes or anything like that? I mean, aside from being lazy and sitting on the couch, like you already said.
Those 3 days, let me tell you, I do tend to stay. I try to stay at home. I am a homebody. I do all the cooking at home. My wife hasn't cooked since 1990. One of the reasons I think she loves me. So when I'm home, we do things like I try to see a lot of theater. There's a lot of great theater happening in Toronto right now. But most of the time, we just do your basic husband-wife stuff. Right now it's Christmas, so we're getting ready for that. We have a couple of Christmas events that we host. Just basically when I can, I just try to chill and do things at home.
When you're on tour for most of the year, then yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I gotta say, Brad is not a substitute.
Do you have any like causes or charities that you like to get involved with?
Yes. I'm an ambassador for lupus, as is my wife, Deb. We also support a charity called Rainbow Camp, which does a summer camp for LGBTQ plus people, sort of a safe space. We also do a thing for Skylark, which is mental health for youth. So we try to get involved with charities that we can help. And not to disparage other ones, but things like cancer or Parkinson's, they have major stars. They have major, they have visibility. There are so many things out there that don't have the things they need, and so we try to help those people.
Okay.
I think the Rainbow Camp one is fantastic. I know you yourself have a trans daughter. As the father of a gay son, I appreciate, because I've heard you talk about her before. I appreciate people who are from all different places in the world and all different ages and eras being so accepting and inviting and accommodating when it comes to things like this. Because I mean, for me, I don't know how everybody handles it, but for me, my life didn't change 1 second to the next when my son told me he was gay. But I know because he's seen other people overreact and be mistreated because of it, he was still nervous to come out, but not as nervous as others have been, which made me feel like I actually did something right in the parenting department.
It's, our daughter and my wife and I, it's just been the 3 of us. We've been incredibly close. And even through that, she found it difficult to come out to us. So it's, and as you were saying, how does that change your life? And how does that change anyone's life who seems to be against it? It's like, how does gay marriage affect you? Is that, and if anyone has, sort of destroyed the fabric of marriage, I would say it's heterosexuals more than anybody else. Larry King, Mickey Rooney.
Therefore, heterosexual couples are far more likely to get divorced. It's just a fact. So
it's just people with all the things going on in the world.
I believe Liz Taylor's did a lot of great work in that department.
Yes. there's so much stuff in the world that can be worked on right now. People's sexualities and what they do to be happy doesn't mean that should not be in the forefront of your mind. If people are happy, great. Here are the things that we should be working on in our world. There's more than one, I believe.
There are far more pressing issues in the world than
Exactly.
who's sleeping in whose bed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and who you choose to love.
do you want to ask the last question that you have on this list? Because I'm not going to ask him that question.
Oh, I absolutely want
I'm
to do
so
this
excited.
one.
Can I just say I'm excited by this?
Before we
Chris,
move
go.
on to our before
There's
we move
2
on
more
to
sections we
our
have here, so
question here at
it's-
the end, which
We'll
but
get
it's
to that.
we have a question here at the end that we do that is invented by Bernard Pivot and perfected by Mr. James Lipton. And we always believe if you can't come up with something great, steal from someone who's already done something great. But before we get to that, I have to ask, you've been a part of all 3 of the hosts for Whose Line It Anyways. So my question is Marry, Fuck, Kill. Drew Carey, Aisha Taylor, Clive Anderson.
Geez.
Go.
Okay, well, first, fuck, obviously, Aisha.
Just on general principle on that one.
Yeah. I mean,
I was hoping he'd say Drew. I don't know why.
You know what? Can I just say, Drew has very soft lips. He's a very good kisser. Oh, who would I kill? Who would I marry? Because I gotta say, I mean, between the 2 of them, I would think Clive would be the better husband. But I don't want to kill Drew. That's a tough one. You know what? I'll marry Drew and kill Clive because Clive will never see this.
I'm not sure Drew will ever see this either.
There you go.
Well, you never know.
He's probably on his way out anyways, or at least closest to it.
Okay.
Before like I said, before we get to the Pivot question here, though, one last question. We know you've done King Lear. Is there other stage besides the improv stuff that you do that you'd like to do, or that you've been offered, or anything like that?
Weirdly, I haven't been offered as much as I'd hoped, but I was offered. This has been a tiny regret in my life. I had friends who created this show called The Drowsy Chaperone. That it's a musical. It ended up going to Broadway. It started off as a gift at a bachelor party. It was like a 15-minute production, and then it became this full-blown thing. It won Tonys, and at one point I was asked to do it, but I was right in the middle of the tour and I couldn't do it. My dream is to be in a Broadway musical. And yes, I have none of the skills to pull that off. But
I can ask, can you sing?
I do have commitment. And I think that could get me through some of the rough spots, like the singing.
I could see you doing a musical. I think you would do.
I mean,
well.
I'm not saying improv is faking anything, but yeah. I'm not saying improv is faking anything, but fake it till you make it, maybe, you know?
Exactly.
And one of my favorite segments on Whose Line was always when you guys did the songs.
Yeah.
I mean, those always turned out really good.
Brad and I have started doing this thing where our second act is a tribute to the town that we're playing in. So we ask the audience for all the information about their town. Weirdly, the one common thing in almost every place we've been is they have a serial killer. So, and then we do a musical on that. And, you know, it's fun because only one of us can actually sing.
Which is Brad.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify.
No, yeah,
So before we get into the questionnaire, where can people see you? What are you up to right now, professionally speaking?
I'm touring a lot. So if you go to colinandbradshow.com or hiprov.com, HYPROV, you will see, I think I'm right now booked up until October of next year with both those tours. And I'll be doing the Fringe Festival in Edmonton in during the summer. Yeah, so just keep those are where you can find out where. That's where I look to see where I'm going.
Okay. All right, then. So we're going to go ahead and start the Pville questionnaire then, just to
All right.
get going. What is your favorite word?
Bamboozle.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is a good one, isn't it?
That is. What is your least favorite word?
Can't.
I've been waiting for somebody to say that. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody said that yet. What sound or noise do you love?
Oh, laughter.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Leaf blowers.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Chef.
Could I ask the next question or not?
Oh, I thought you were going to
Yes,
ask
that's that you said halfway.
what
That's the
profession would you like to not least attempt?
No, that's the halfway point. So go ahead. We're good at this, can't you tell?
I
In
can
pro
tell.
wrestling, we call that a blown spot. So
Yeah, they do.
it's the lag tonight. I don't understand why we have that. So, but no, what profession would you least like to attempt?
Oh, anything that includes math. So I guess an accountant.
I've heard that one several times actually.
Yeah.
You know what's odd? Yeah, we've heard that a couple of times. Creatively, what turns you on?
Doing something that is outside of my comfort zone.
Same question. What turns you off?
Oh. Rudeness. Oh, that is such a Canadian answer.
For someone that's worked in the UK, you sure don't like rudeness.
And obviously, my favorite one. What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, you see, here's the thing. My wife, an amazing cursor, loves cursing. Mine tends to be bastards. That's it. Every once in a while, I throw out a motherfucker, but mostly bastards.
A good bastard with a hard B on it at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like that.
A hard B and a hard turd.
I think if you have a hard turd, you got to go see a doctor, my friend. But
Okay.
the final question: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Sorry it took so long to get to you.